Hello and welcome to Watch Releases Recap from Rolex and Tudor for Watches and Wonders 2024. Let's begin with Rolex and their new Sky Dweller in yellow gold and rose gold on the Jubilee bracelet. On the Jubilee bracelet is the important part here because this watch was actually featured already on the Oyster flags, which is essentially like a rubber strap. These new ones come on the bracelets and I think they actually look really cool. Besides the bracelet and the case material, everything about the watch is pretty much the same as the older versions. It still comes in the same 42mm case. It's 50mm from one lug to another. It's 14mm thick, which is not bad for an annual calendar. It still features the same caliber 9002 in-house movement. It's an automatic movement. The watch still has 100 meters of water resistance, and these ones are priced at about $55,000 for the rose gold version and about $51,000 for the yellow gold version. The new Rolex 1908 in platinum with Guilloché dial. Last year, Watches and Wonders 2023, Rolex released a new model called 1908. It's essentially their version of a dress watch. And ever since that watch was released, people were kind of questioning where Rolex is going with the releases. Are they going to try to compete with more sort of higher end brands? And with this new platinum version, it's clear that that's where Rolex wants to go. They want to compete with the more high-end watches, your Vacherons, your APs, your Pateks. The new Guilloché dial actually looks pretty cool. I can't remember any other Rolex watches that would feature this pattern on a dial, so that's what makes this watch sort of unique. Now, in terms of the case size, it's the same as last year's versions that came in white gold and rose gold, I believe. So it still is 39mm in case diameter, only 9.5mm thick. It still features the same caliber 7140 automatic in-house movement. And this new platinum version is priced around $32,000. The new Rolex GMT Master with the gray and black ceramic bezel. I think this watch already has a nickname. People on the internet are starting to refer to as Bruce Wayne. So essentially it is very similar to a Rolex GMT Master 2 that Rolex discontinued a few years ago. It had a black bezel and a green GMT hand, as well as some green writing on the dial. Now we have a very similar looking watch with a few slight differences. Number one, this one features the new caliber. Is the in-house caliber 3285, the same movement as you can find in all of modern Rolex GMT Master models. Secondly, this watch is available on both Oyster bracelet as well as Jubilee. I think on the Jubilee it looks really sharp. In fact, I think GMT Master belongs on a Jubilee bracelet. That's just my personal preference. So I'm really glad that they have both versions available. I mean, available in quotation marks because good luck trying to buy one of these watches, even though it says available immediately, but we all know what that really means. And the last change between this and the old version is the fact that now it features a two-tone bezel. I think this bezel actually looks really subtle. I can't wait to see one in person because if it looks as good as it looks on the pictures, I think this is going to be a very popular watch. I mean, even if it doesn't look as good as it looks in pictures, it's still going to be a very popular watch. Remember the left-hander GMT? That watch became super crazy popular. Just anything that Rolex releases in sports models, we can just assume is going to be very popular. But I think this watch specifically sort of is very understated. It's not as loud as the Pepsi or even the Batman. So I think a lot of people would like to go for something like this. Now, as far as the pops of green, it's okay. I probably would prefer the swatch just monochrome. I think that would look better, but you know, to each their own. And as far as the pricing goes, it's priced the same as the Pepsi and the Batman. The Rolex Deep Sea in yellow gold with a blue bezel and a blue dial. Now, this watch is the definition of irony or dichotomy, whatever you want to call it, because it's a professional diver watch with crazy water resistance. What did they have? I think something like 4,000 meters, something like that. Just incredible water resistance. Of course, a lot of engineering goes into creating something like that. But then you have yellow gold. It's a very heavy material, and of course it's a luxurious material, so no one will ever take this watch diving. So it's a very capable diver watch that is only made to be worn just out and about, not to be worn actually diving. And I think that is just so strange. Now, I myself own a two-tone Submariner, so I'm not the one to talk, but at least I think Submariner is sort of a little bit more reasonably sized. This watch here is just ginormous. It's a 44mm diameter watch. It is also crazy heavy, as I mentioned. It is very thick as well, so you have to have some pretty massive wrists to pull off a watch like this. But I know there's a certain segment in the market that really loves these watches and will be very happy that this watch exists. So let's talk about some of the discontinued models. Rolex actually discontinued quite a few. First of all, Rolex Daytona Le Mans edition. So this watch was released, I think, last year. It was only released for a few months, and actually Hodinkee and Ben from Hodinkee did a really good video about how special this watch is and why it's so special. So I recommend you go ahead and watch that video. It gave me a whole new appreciation for this watch, and I also didn't realize how rare these watches were. It was essentially a white gold Daytona with a few red accents and a few other special things about it. It was an expensive watch. I think the retail price was something like 50 grand, but on the resale market, these watches were selling for close to 250,000, so multiple times of the retail price. And now that the watch is discontinued, anyone who actually owns one of these watches just won a lottery. I can see these watches being worth millions of dollars in the future. I'm not talking about later this year, but I'm talking years down the line, because this watch hasn't existed for that long. It was a very difficult watch to get in the first place, and now that it's discontinued, only select few people actually own one, so it will be an incredibly rare Rolex in the years to come. So congratulations to all the owners who actually bought one in the past. Now let's talk about a couple of more attainable watches that were also discontinued. So a couple of Datejust releases were discontinued. One is the Palm Tree 36mm, so the one with the palm dial. The other one is the Fluted dial. I think that one is the two-tone. Both of those models are discontinued. Also, the entire Yacht-Master 2 collection is discontinued, which is sort of strange. I can't remember last time when Rolex discontinued the whole collection, because there are quite a few different versions of this watch. And it wasn't the most popular sports model, but I've seen quite a few out and about. I think what Rolex is going to do, they're going to release a new version of this watch, probably next year or the year after. Probably new movement, maybe new color scheme, things like that. I don't think anyone is too upset about the Yacht-Master 2 being discontinued, but it is sort of strange that they discontinued it without having a replacement announced yet. Now, those were the Rolex releases. Now let's talk about Tudor, because I think Tudor has been killing it lately, especially this year. And let's talk about my favorite watch release so far, the Tudor Black Bay 58 GMT. Okay, so I've been making videos on YouTube for a while. And I used to do these things where I would predict what watches the Tudor will release, what watches Rolex will release. First of all, those videos used to get a lot of views, but also it was kind of fun to speculate and talk about. It's the same thing as you do when, you know, a new, let's say, Formula One season starts and you speculate who's going to be on top. I mean, now it's clear, Max Verstappen. But anyways, what am I talking about? Basically, this watch has been speculated for years, ever since the 58 came out and ever since the Pepsi came out. Watch enthusiasts were asking for a GMT watch in a Black Bay 58 case, because the GMT watch that we got was a little bit too chunky. The diameter was reasonable, 41mm, but it was almost 15mm thick, which is just way too thick for a lot of wrists, including my own. I don't have that small of a wrist, but I found it to be just a little bit too chunky. Well, finally Tudor has listened and they gave us the GMT in Black Bay 58 case. Now, one thing to note, we actually had something similar a couple of years ago with the Tudor Black Bay Pro. That was also a GMT watch, but it was still a little bit too thick. This new Black Bay 58 GMT is about 1mm thinner than the Black Bay Pro and about 2mm thinner than the regular Black Bay GMT Pepsi, as it's known. The other cool thing about this watch is actually that color combination on the bezel. It has the Coke bezel. For years, again, we were trying to predict what Rolex will do, and the safe sort of prediction was always to say that a Coke GMT is coming. Well, now there is a new Coke GMT, but not from Rolex, from Tudor, out of all places. And I think it looks really good. I also like how it looks in that aluminum bezel. It's quite different from the ceramic bezel. It gives you that vintage look, especially with the exposed crown, without the crown guards, the gilt accents around the dial. Everything about this watch really works for me. Now, I know some people will complain about the faux rivets remaining on the bracelet. I do wish that Tudor released this watch on their Jubilee bracelet or the 5-link bracelet as they call it. I think in that case, this would have been killer. But right now it's available on their sort of oyster style bracelet, the 3-link bracelet, as well as the rubber strap. As far as the movement, it's still powered by the MT5450-U automatic in-house movement. It still comes with 200 meters of water resistance. As I mentioned, the case dimensions are very reasonable. 39 millimeters diameter, 48 millimeters lug-to-lug distance, and it's under 13 millimeters in case thickness, 12.8 to be exact, including a domed sapphire crystal. On a bracelet, this watch is about $4,700 US, and on the rubber strap, it's about $4,500 US. Always go for the bracelet. I think that's the way to do it with this model. So well done, Tudor. I'm super excited about this release. The new Tudor Black Bay Monochrome. So this one is the 41 millimeter version of the Black Bay. Last year we got essentially the same watch with the burgundy color scheme. Now this year, 2024, we have a monochrome looking one, and I think that looks so damn good. This is a great alternative to a Submariner, and by alternative, I don't mean something you get because you can't get the Submariner. I'm talking about something you want instead of the Submariner. I think this watch looks great. That Jubilee style bracelet, or in this case they call it the 5-link bracelet, looks fantastic. It also has the new T-clasp, which is excellent. I love the fact that it has that exposed crown, again very vintage inspired. No date on the dial, which is my preference. Now the snowflakes hand for the hours is not going to be everyone's liking. I happen to like it. There's just a lot that I like about this watch. The sizing is also very reasonable, 41 millimeter case diameter. It's about 13.5 millimeters in case thickness. So it is thinner than the standard Black Bay 41 millimeters. It's the same thickness as last year's release. It features 200 meters of water resistance, and it is powered by the MT5602-U in-house movement with 70 hours of power reserve. Fantastic release from Tudor. Well done. And lastly, let's talk about the Tudor Black Bay 58 in yellow gold with the yellow gold bracelet. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this release because we already had this watch existing. Now it's available on the full gold bracelet. I think what Tudor was trying to do, they were trying to test the market, see how popular these watches would be, because of course having a full gold bracelet brings up the price of the watch. So first they wanted to release it without the bracelet to test the waters, see how the customers would respond to a gold Tudor, whether they would be willing to spend the money for a gold Tudor. Now I think they realized that yes, there is a market for such thing, and now they released a full 18 karat yellow gold Tudor Black Bay 58 on the 18 karat yellow gold bracelet. The sizing of this watch is exactly the same as the standard Black Bay 58. Of course, it's much heavier than the standard Black Bay 58 because yellow gold is way heavier than stainless steel. So you have to keep that in mind. Still comes with 200 meters of water resistance, and it's still powered by the same Tudor in-house movement, caliber MT5400 with 70 hours of power reserve. And the price of this watch is $32,000 US, which is quite a bit. I think there's going to be a limited market for this watch, but I'm also not expecting Tudor to make a ton of these watches. This will be for a very specific customer. And that's it. That's the video for now. Those were the Rolex and Tudor releases that I wanted to talk about. At the end of the week, as usual, I will still do my watch releases recap. I'll talk about all the other releases, not Rolex and Tudor, because there's a lot to talk about. So subscribe to the YouTube channel if you don't want to miss that video when it does come out. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about the new Tudor and Rolex releases. What stood out to you? What didn't? Are you happy? Are you excited? Leave your thoughts below. I always enjoy reading your comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.